SDP, the Steve Dangle Podcast, with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
You know, if the Islanders hadn't come in and screwed it all up, we'd know who's in the Stanley Cup Finals by now. But of course, you know, the Islanders have to be the Islanders. They're now only down by one game rather than two. It's 3-2. Tomorrow night, Game 6, we shall find out whether Tampa goes in Game 6 or Tampa goes in Game 7.
Wow, really?
Oh,
Adam,
I'm tempting fate with the Islanders fans.
You sure are.
Fate. They've been amazing.
No,
come on,
you know,
Tampa's got to do this. It's got to be the year.
Yeah. About 5 minutes into the first overtime, I was like, the New York Islanders are winning this game.
Really?
How could you say that when Tampa had a power play to start OT?
Yeah, Steve, how could you say that?
The further it got in, especially double overtime, the Islanders weren't getting any shots, but they were like, there were all these moments where they were so close to catching Tampa on like a, you know, getting a breakaway, a 2-on-1, and then sure enough, the game-winning goal might have been their only shot of the second overtime period. I'm not even sure. It was a 2-on-1, and as they're streaking down, you're like, they're not going to miss. They're not going to miss this chance. It's they know for a fact it's the only one they're going to get.
Yeah, that's how I don't see how they win both of the next two games.
Because you're looking at it like an analytics nerd.
They were barely in, but Tampa was so much. They were the better team. They had a goal taken away by an offside review. They should have won the game in regulation.
Actually, Jesse, they should have been onside is what they should have been.
Well, they should have been like Tony. If they had played more like Tony the Tiger, they would have been onside. But
that would have been great.
You kind of picture, okay, how does it look if this team won the Stanley Cup? And I can't envision a world where Semyon Varlamov is lifting the cup over his head this year, and how that's just like a reality that's going to happen.
That comment could really come back to haunt you, Fred.
Yeah,
you know that. That's bold.
It's not going to. It's not Casper. It won't haunt me.
Semyon Varlamov's not even the best Russian goalie left in these playoffs.
No.
But I tell you what,
goalie in his series. He's not the best goalie in the playoffs.
What did I say?
Stanley Cup this year.
What did I say last show? I said we owe an apology to the New York Islanders because the Dallas Stars are actually the kings of boring. I owe an apology to the Dallas Stars. I thought Brian Burke's comment, I think it was either after the third period or first overtime, was hilarious. He goes, I don't think the Islanders are playing rope-a-dope. I just think they're getting outplayed. Which, bless him.
That's funny.
Was he absolutely right? This is why I'm so worried for my dear friend Adam, talking about Tampa being in the Stanley Cup final like they're already there. Boy, is this starting to just, you ever get a funny tingle, just a funny feeling? It's just reminding me of 2015. Now, you might remember 2015 as a year Tampa Bay went to the Stanley Cup final. Yes, and they fell apart. They looked unstoppable until injuries caught up to them. Ben Bishop didn't play, but about a quarter or a third of Ben Bishop's body played in the net. And Tyler Johnson, who was just such a breakthrough revelation for them, had a busted wrist and was basically useless in the Stanley Cup final. And now Stamkos hasn't been there the whole time. Braden Point isn't in there. Better not lose Game 6.
What? They're gonna lose next.
It's like the Raptors with Golden State. We're like, no, we're gonna win this series, but they better not lose Game 6 because they'll probably lose Game 7. Tampa better wrap this up if they're gonna make it to the Stanley Cup final, because it's the Islanders, baby. They find a way.
They do find a way, and you have to give them credit for that. You're absolutely right. But
we need Tampa to win, like, for hockey.
that everybody hates that story.
Exactly.
I don't care.
Everybody hates that also, you don't want to see Stars Islanders.
I don't care. I also don't care.
Well, Stars fans just hate you.
Explaining to me why the Stars are exciting. Oh, okay. I see it now.
Well, here's the thing. It's exciting to watch your team win. That's what's exciting.
Absolutely. But for something to be exciting is completely subjective.
Sure.
And like what I find exciting, you're not going to find exciting. Don't explain to me why something's exciting. I find it exciting or I don't. They've played exciting games.
You seem upset. I remember a little upset.
Yeah, he's been in a spat with Dallas fans all week, and I remember. I actually remember, Steve, to your point, Pierre McGuire, after one of the most boring All-Star games I'd ever seen, probably the last one I watched in full, came on television and word for word on TSN said, "If you can't appreciate this, you don't like hockey." And I remember going, "Time to change the channel. I don't like hockey." It was like 21-17, and like it was just.
Can we stop quoting Pierre McGuire?
Yeah, well, he's a quotable guy.
Oh no, he's super not. He's super not.
Well, I'm not going to get into the analytics thing that he started this week.
Can I read it?
You want to?
Okay, read it because I have a theory.
Okay,
read it because I have a theory.
You can't bring up quoting Pierre McGuire and then not bring up his quote of the week.
Right.
Bring up the Pierre McGuire quote of the week and then get out the tinfoil and you scrunch it into a little hat.
This is from NHL_Watcher on Twitter. McGuire on TSN 690 says the analytics community tries to intimidate when you don't agree with their opinion. Says there is no analytics equation for heart or having the courage to block a 100-mile-per-hour shot.
Shot blocking! Stupid! All analytics are stats, but, you see what just happened?
What happened?
Jesse just read, not a quote, Jesse just read a tweet. Mm-hmm. That claims to quote Pierre McGuire from an interview he did on TSN. What was it, 960?
In Montreal.
Something. I read an aggregator. Somebody who aggregates hockey news.
And it's Pierre McGuire. Buzzword. That's an inflammatory guy. Gets people fired up. Use the word analytics. That's a buzzword. Gets people fired up. Talking about shot blocking. We're always yelling about shot blocking. Fired up. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia fans, Pierre McGuire is Pepe Sylvia. He doesn't exist. That quote never happened. That is my new conspiracy theory. There was a meme going around, and it took me a while to clue into it. But people kept posting a picture of the Florida Panthers stadium basically empty. Mm-hmm. And over like a 2-year span, people kept going, wow, look at Florida tonight. And they would post the same picture, and people would fall for it and be like, Panthers. No one appreciates this team. No one follows the Panthers. Move them. Why don't they move the Panthers? It's not working in Sunrise. It's a meme. They just trick people. Pierre McGuire hasn't done a radio hit for 6 months, and that's my conspiracy theory. You're all just making these quotes up. There's no way all these stations are having Pierre McGuire on to say the exact same thing with a few words mixed around all the time. There's no way. Like, is it in his contract?
Hey, and ask him about analytics. Just do it. Just do it.
Well, glad you asked. And then he gets on there looking like that one Muppet with the glasses. You know which one I'm talking about? He's not one of the bigger Muppets. He's like more secondary. He gets
You
on
don't
there.
have to call the man a Muppet.
He looks like a Muppet. A specific Muppet. So it's not insulting.
Oh, God.
It'd be insulting if I was just saying he arbitrarily looks like a Muppet. I'm not saying he looks like Kermit the Frog. There's a specific Muppet that he looks like. He hasn't done a radio hit for 6 months. All these quotes are fake. What was that account? What was that super real, very real account?
At NHL_Watcher.
We are being punked as a community. Hockey Twitter is being punked. That never happened. You go on TSN's website and you find that interview. Guaranteed it's not there. That's my conspiracy theory. Pierre McGuire hasn't been on the radio for a month. At least. He hasn't been on the radio all playoffs.
Is it possible, however, that Pierre McGuire says the same things most of the time because he knows that that's part of what he brings and that's the value that he adds as a broadcaster? Like, let's, and this is not, that's not a shot at him, but if you look at for the last 7 or 8 years up until about 2-3 years ago, Skip Bayless's thing was LeBron isn't great. He's not even top 5 all time. He's
Oh,
now
it still is
pivoted
his
off
thing.
of that. And then when
No.
Kawhi left his favorite team, then it was last year, Kawhi sucks until Kawhi won a championship. But that was the train that he was riding. And I wonder if this is the train that Pierre is riding.
This is a shot at him. Okay, this is a shot at him.
Why?
He's not doing that because he no, not what you said. What I'm about to say. This is a shot at him.
And
He's
it's
not doing this to get a rise out of people. He's doing it because it's the only thing he has to say.
And it's
But this
Bunsen
is assuming
Honeydew.
he said
by
it
the way.
because I don't think he did. I think at NHL tweet person or whatever the fuck the next account's gonna be.
Smart insider, man.
Smart insider man, smart insider aggregator at lulz clown emoji.
It's a Sim 8.
Sim8 said the next tweet is just going to be Pierre McGuire analytics, and it's going to break the quote tweets record. It's going to be insane. That's my new conspiracy theory. All these Pierre McGuire analytics quotes are made up. They're made up. They never happened.
Bunsen Honeydew.
Bunsen Honeydew and Beaker.
I want to get that in.
Beaker is his side. I like Beaker because he's like me.
Yeah.
He's
Wait,
my favorite.
Bunsen.
Bunsen Honeydew is the guy that
You
people say
say
Pierre McGuire looks like. Although
He looks exactly like him.
it's yeah.
It's a specific Muppet. It's not an insult. If it's one, I didn't say he looked like Miss Piggy. I didn't say he looked like Beaker. He looks like Doctor. He's a doctor. Dr. Bunsen Honeydew. All right. It's not an insult if it's specific.
I don't know.
He sits there looking like Dr. Bunsen Honeydew.
Yep.
And does not get on the phone because none of these quotes are real. None of them. We're all being punked. And you're all taking the bait because you're part of the analytics mob. Arrgh, you're just crazy with your fangs out.
What's Sim Aggregator going to say tomorrow?
Whoa, what will Sim Aggregator say tomorrow?
Pierre McGuire says William Nylander needs to be traded for a pair
Petrangelo.
of literal fists. There needs to be an NHL team that signs a pair of fists that were like donated to science. They need to sign those pair of fists and then trade them to the Leafs. And that's what's going to make them a Stanley Cup contender. That might be a 2-part tweet. I don't know if that fits 280 characters.
I don't know.
That's going to be the new one from Dr. Bunsen Honeydew on Twitter.aggregate ego.
Okay.
Which radio station did he say it on?
One of these central Canadian ones where you're like, is that the number?
It's so true.
What's the Winnipeg TSN one right now?
960.
No, it's not.
Wrong.
No,
I don't
it's
even know what the right answer is, but it's not that.
the Winnipeg. Does Winnipeg
look
have a
it up.
TSN?
I'm pretty sure TSN radio.
I know it's 1260
12.
in Edmonton.
1290.
1290.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. So someone's gonna tweet. Pierre McGuire said on Swift Current TSN 730.
Swift Currents. That's a good one.
That's what he's gonna say.
Well, wait till you hear what he said on Moose Factory. TSN Moose Factory.
Adam, now you're just getting ridiculous. There's no
You're
way
right.
Moose Factory has a radio station.
I think
But TSN 420 Moose Jaw.
What about TSN Chilliwack?
Oh man,
Chilliwack might have one.
Chilliwack's. Well, have a radio station for sure. Yeah. Have a all sports station? Probably not.
What did Sim Aggregator say Pierre said on TSN Chilliwack?
Kyle Clifford leaving the Leafs is proof Kyle Dubas needs Velcro shoes because he doesn't know how to tie them because only men who work with their hands and get dirty and are rink rats know how to tie their shoes. Analytics. Hashtag analytics is going to be at the end of it so that you know. And it's going to get retweeted by Dave Pagnotta and you're all going to lose your mind. That's how it's going to work.
Why would Dave retweet that?
Because it's bullshit.
Okay. Why are you going after Dave?
Yeah, what
He's a nice guy.
For the Eric Carlson thing or the Jack Johnson
By the way,
thing.
he didn't respond to that. I was surprised. I thought we'd hear from him, but
Yeah.
not a thing about the Eric Carlson thing, about the fact that you were misled and Eric Carlson was going to have a huge press conference and then
What was the fashion brand? It was the French one.
RW & Co.
RW & Co.
Yeah. Is that French?
I believe so.
I think so.
A lot of the big brands.
RW?
Yeah. I think brands.
I know French. I know French letters.
Isn't Browns out of Montreal as well? Yeah, there's like a lot. There was anyway.
Mhm.
Hey, let's take a break.
Why?
Have some fun and do a Kellogg's playoff selfie, or not selfie, celebration, because I can't even speak anymore.
Yeah, Adam? Is that what you want to do?
All right. So this is one Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, Sellies of the past, great Sellies of the past. When we talk about the best celebrations of all time, the ones that Tony would have on his top 10 list. Steven.
Steve's great.
Not as great as the man I'm about to talk about there, Tony. So let me tell you, back when there was respect in the game, in the year of our Lord, in the 90s, whatever year it was, I can't remember exactly, the Toronto Maple Leafs were losing a hockey game to the Philadelphia Flyers. And so after the game, when the Leafs lost, they shook hands with the Flyers and said, good game. And by that, I mean they started to beat the crap out of the Flyers because they were upset that they lost. In the middle of all that was Felix the Cat Potvin, armed with a glove and blocker, was just punching dudes. I love the revisionist history of this event because it's told like Potvin was doing this. Like, it's told like he was just standing there minding his own business. No, he was gloving and blockering guys in the brain. So Ron Hextall decided, I'm Ron Hextall, and no one gets away with that crap of me. And he skated 200 feet down the ice to fight Felix the Cat Potvin. And my friends, Potvin beat the brakes off of him like it was twisted metal. Remember that game?
I do remember that game. That was a great game.
What was the name of the clown?
Oh, I forget. But yeah,
It wasn't Ron, but it was that night.
I remember Twisted Metal Black. That was a cool game.
It was a cool game. The
Yeah.
clown who drove an ice cream truck, you know
That's
what
right.
I'm talking about.
Yep.
It was wild. It was another time. Anyway, Potvin beat the brakes off of him, and it was the greatest time ever. But what I remember from that, Ron Hextall, he's a mess afterward. One of the Leafs, who fortunately for the Flyers was on the bench. Had he not been on the bench, Flyers might have left the bench, and then it would have really been a problem. Ty Domi was on the bench for some reason without his jersey. And he was, pointing at Ron Hextall's head, informing him that he may or may not have had a small cut. And this is one of my lasting memories from that moment of a game where the Leafs didn't win on the score sheet, but gosh darn it, they won on the school bus the next morning. And to me, that's my cereal Selly. The coffee's good,
Frosted
folks.
Flakes.
There you go.
That's right, Tony!
Now that's a reason for a cereal Selly.
I don't think that Tony would have that on his top 10, just based on Tony. I don't think so. I think
Wow,
Tony,
Adam.
Tony likes it clean. So,
Does he?
yeah.
Tony has to like it clean because he's
He
a
does.
Tiger.
He does. He wants real celebrations, not winning it on the school bus the next day. Tony
Yeah.
prefers to win the game. Leafs need to sign Tony. Let's be honest.
Oh, they do.
Um,
They do.
A
Because then they would
7-foot
have an
tiger,
enforcer.
the 7-foot tiger that can skate.
You think Hextall's taking a run at Potvin? If there's a 7-foot actual tiger
How would
ice
How would Mike Babcock deploy Tony the Tiger?
for 3 minutes a game, spread evenly between the first and second period.
Speaking of which, Mike Babcock will not be the head coach in Washington. It will be Peter Laviolette. Peter Laviolette, most recently of Nashville, but he's been around and won a lot of games with the Flyers and obviously the Preds and has been a very long tenured coach. And you almost forgot about Peter Laviolette because there are a few pretty big name coaches on the market right now, wide open. We know that Mike Babcock interviewed for it, but the rumor was I don't even know if it was even a suggested rumor, but there was sort of like I bet Ovi called Pavel Datsyuk and was probably like, probably not. No, not for me. I am not surprised that Mike Babcock did not get this job. I cannot imagine that this is the team for him. But Steve, I think you tweeted it right. It's way less fun that Peter Laviolette's the coach. Would have loved to see Babcock as the coach of the Caps because, boy, what a story that would have been.
Yep. It would have been better for material for sure, but people were pointing out that I was a bad person for saying that it's less fun that Babcock wasn't hired. And boy, I wonder what you think about the Washington Capitals for actually interviewing the man. For seriously, honest to goodness, interviewing him, saying, hey, would you like this job? I didn't offer Mike Babcock a job. I didn't interview Mike Babcock for a job. I believe that was the Washington Capitals who did that. Now, moving on to Peter Laviolette, probably a decent fit because I would have preferred it to be Gerard Gallant, I think, from a systems perspective. But a veteran team like the Washington Capitals, like even their young guys are like Kuznetsov, you know what I mean? Like he's in his prime. That's not a rookie anymore. They do have some young guys, but for the most part, it's an older team. I think they just need a motivator. And I get the impression that Peter Laviolette can do that. He's had a history of doing that. He's not going to teach these guys anything too new or wild. Just from the quotes that came out of the bubble, it seemed like the Washington Capitals were lacking a little bit of the fire that they typically play with. And I think Peter Laviolette is a very good candidate to bring that out of them.
Fair. And you know what? Sometimes if you've got a veteran team, I mean, really, it's sort of like you've been in the league long enough. You probably already know you've won a Stanley Cup. How do we push the buttons of the guys that are already here, that have already done this, that can make this happen? And yeah, I mean, if that's what Peter Laviolette brings, then the Caps could be formidable next year. And depending upon, honestly, like really, let's be honest, if it's their goaltending that they get fully sorted out,
that is a big issue.
I don't think it's going to be that hard for them to be great.
No, he's made the playoffs as a head coach in all but 2 years as a head coach. And he got fired by the Preds this year. So I guess technically 3, but the Preds were in the makeshift playoffs, whatever. 2.5. Mm-hmm. Guy knows how to get them there at very least. He takes a lot of heat. He gets criticized a lot as not being that great of a coach, but I don't know. There's this aggregator Twitter account that's really, I don't know how much faith I have in analytics anymore because of these made up Pierre McGuire quotes.
There's some like big news that happened this week, several places, but I think one of the things that a far more interesting story that I think is going to be something we see more and more of is the Jonas Brodin extension. 7 years, wow. Big money. So the Matt Dumba rumors have heated up. And of course, everybody's saying, well, to Toronto. I don't think Matt Dumba's a fit in Toronto. We can get into that later. But in the meantime, you should know that there are employees with the Minnesota Wild that all had their salaries cut or reduced. For Frank Seravalli, the Minnesota Wild, a 20% reduction for all staff salaries of $150,000 or more. Now you might say, hey, listen, they're making $150,000. Good for them. Like 20. What's 20% off that? Well, it's a lot. It's 25, 30 grand. No, what would it be? It'd be
a big old bunch of money.
It's a lot of money. And if you're living at the level where you make $150,000 a year and all of a sudden it's gone or part of it's gone, that's going to be a problem financially for you. And the hard part for people to swallow is going to be, okay, so these guys just signed multi-million-dollar extensions that you can afford, but you're cutting 20 or 30 grand off of 10 or 15 employees?
25% of 150,000 is 37,500.
It's a lot of money. So now you might say, well, listen, he should be able to get by on that. And I agree. But let's say he's bought a house at that level and he's supporting kids at that level. Like usually people spend to their just about their ability to pay for it. Right. And that's just human nature. That's what we do. It's like, well, I made more. I should get a bigger house or I should get a nicer car. And for that to just be gone, and you know that there's no amount of salary cutting on the operations side of the rink that is going to make up for the cost of signing players, right? You could probably cut 20% from your entire staff and you may save $1 million. Like, think about it.
Right.
It's not going to be a lot of money. How many people on staff are going to make over $150,000 anyway? Not much.
How do you think the people who had to make cuts feel about the fact that over the past week, the Minnesota Wild have committed to $44,625,000 towards Jonas Brodin and Nick Bjugstad? Because half of Nick Bjugstad for 1 year at $525.
The other side says it is over 7 years. Like it's theoretical. The $47 million is theoretical dollars, and zero of that's being handed out until whenever the next season starts. So it's not in terms of money cost savings now. That has no effect on it.
I still say so what? Because the last show, I said, I hope this isn't like 2012 where teams go on this crazy free agency spending spree and then go, we're poor. We can't afford it. The players need to make concessions. Or, I guess we're going to have a lockout. And the first big contract signed after we said that on the last show was from the Wild.
Now,
stop!
Tell us why that matters, Steve. Tell us why that matters. Because there's going to be a lot of people who don't remember necessarily the summer of 2012 and the free agency, right? So you got to give us the context there.
Well, okay, here's how free agency was in 2012. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, $196 million committed to Zach Parise and Ryan Sutter. 2, 1, we're poor! Hell, we can't spend any money on anything. None of the teams can. It's not just us. Because the big bad players have made us poor. Meanwhile, Zach Parise and Ryan Sutter are halfway through the contracts that they signed 8 years ago for $196 million combined. And it rubbed people the wrong way that people at the time found it mind-blowing that the Minnesota Wild were able to go out and get both those guys. It was supposed to be like, imagine if someone went out and got Panarin and Bobrovsky last summer. That's the
almost
level
happened.
of surprising. Supposedly it almost happened, but that was the level of surprising that it was that the Wild managed to get both Parise and Sutter. And then, no. You want what? No. We're gonna put an 8-year cap on contracts because you just asked for too much. Yeah, Ryan, here you go. It's Zach. Anyway, so as I was saying to you guys over there, yes, up. No, I'll get to you guys in a second. As I was saying to you guys over there, your demands are nuts. You're bad people, and you're preventing hockey fans from watching hockey. You didn't a hot tub trade over there. Hey, listen. And it was the Minnesota Wild who did that. And then they're the first team to spend money this time. And the second I saw that contract, I go, yeah, it's not that bad. Ooh, but if I look at that Saravalli article and find out you're one of the 17 teams, you are! God, you're the worst! Oh! They are the worst. The worst. I told you.
It's poetic, really. It's poetic. It is.
And listen,
so fitting.
It's not like they went out, okay, other than Bjugstad, who they did go out and get, but basically in terms of assets for free.
Nothing. Yeah.
And again, it's not like they laid off, concessions folks or whatever. They did make cuts to. Anyway, I'm gonna have a hard time getting people to feel bad for folks making $150,000 a year. You know what I mean?
I don't think you are. I don't think you are.
Yeah, I do.
I think if you don't, you should. I think if you don't, you should. Just because you're not making 150 grand doesn't mean that doesn't put someone in an extremely tight spot.
That's not Scrooge McDuck. That's someone doing well.
Yeah, and there's
But
nothing.
that's not Scrooge McDuck.
No, it's nothing. Like, I mean, it's not. That's. It seems like an astronomical sum of money, but it isn't when you compare it to the millions that these players are going to make. And listen, they deserve it. But the point I'm trying to make here is, so okay, to Jesse's point, there are theoretical dollars until the season comes back, right? So if the season comes back, then theoretically, everybody's salary goes back to normal. But my point in all of this is what happens to the guys that have lost 20% of their salary, guys and girls, whoever. Do they get refunded that money? Does that money come back to them? No. Did they put in the same amount of effort and work and same quality of work? Yes. So why? Because there's no gate. Oh, no, we're not going to pay you as much. Now, the other thing is, well, we could have cut you altogether. We could have just cut ties with you. Yeah, maybe you could have. Doubt that you would have. And really, you're saving yourself maybe a few $100,000. It's Craig Leopold. I'm really surprised that a guy with wealth like that really needs to worry about this. And I know he's running it like a business. I get it. But at a certain point, you have to take a step back and think, it doesn't matter that the Jonas Brodin extension doesn't kick in till whenever hockey starts. These people are still working. And you're cutting back on the people that are still working.
Who runs a business?
What do you mean? Like, well, the players. Employees, yeah.
The employees. So he's running a business. Ah, good. So pay your employees. That's how a business works.
I would take it as if your salary is cut by 20%, then your workload would be as well. Because that's how it works in the people I know personally who have been reduced salary over the pandemic. Like instead of working 5 days a week, they now work 4 days a week because their salary was cut 20%. So I would assume these people whose salaries were cut would be the same position.
And in a lot of
their
places,
workload is taken off 25%.
To be fair, Jesse, yes, and a lot of employees in Canada think our rights are a little bit further ahead, frankly, than the States. Especially in Ontario, it's a very employee-friendly legal service, but that's not necessarily the same in the States. Not saying it's not in Minnesota.
In Florida, I don't like your face. You're fired.
Yeah, like it's very, very, very different. And so it varies from state to state. I don't know the local laws. I hope that would be the case. But also, let's pretend, let's talk about you're in hockey ops, right? You're in hockey ops, so that's a big deal that you got there. There are so few of those jobs. And you get your salary cut 20%, and then you say, well, I'm only going to work 4 days a week. They're going to look at you like, what? No, you're like, we'll let you go. We'll find someone who will work that much money, or for that much money, who will work 5 or 6 days a week because that's what we do. That's what'll happen.
Maybe
the expectation will still be the same, even if on paper it's not. And I don't know. I find it there's a very uncomfortable element to this for me. I just really don't. I don't like it. When you are, yes, I know the players are not getting paid right now. But the people that are there still running the business have still got a job to do and still have families to support. And yes, you can say, well, they make a lot more money than I do, and that's fair, man, fair, great. But at the same time, if anybody has their salary cut by 20%, if the players had their salaries cut 20%, if these billionaires had their salary, or they don't usually have salary, if they had their equitable value cut by 20%, it would be devastating. It would be devastating. MLSE
got through this with paying everyone, right? That was the report.
They're still paying everyone. Yes, because they make an insane amount of money and have an insane amount of money.
I'll read this. This is tsn.ca. Frank Saravalli. Anaheim Ducks, a 20% reduction for salaries between $70,000 to $250,000, increasing to 25% for salaries of $250,000 and up. So I guess at least it's tiered. Boston Bruins, Jeremy Jacob is so rich, requested coaches forego playoff bonuses for 2019-20 in order to avoid salary reductions. Those coaches, by the way, won the Jack Adams. Buffalo Sabres, after a 20% reduction from April 1st to July 13th, Sabres coaching staff rejected a request to take a voluntary 25% reduction because whose jobs are we going to save? You fired everybody already!
Right.
Calgary Flames, a 20% reduction for all staff effective September 1. So remember that when Calgary goes out and gets a big free agent. Chicago Blackhawks, a 20% reduction for salaries above $200,000, 15% for 100 to 200. again, I know we've had the discussion, but we're going to have a hard time getting people to feel bad for anyone making probably over $100,000. Columbus Blue Jackets requested coaches forego playoff bonuses for 2019-20. Again, NHL coaches, you're going to have a hard time getting anyone to feel too bad. Dallas Stars, full salaries reinstated on July 13th following a 30% reduction in June. Okay, so it was reinstated.
That's great.
Edmonton Oilers, top 3 coaches deferred 25% for the year, a 25% reduction for salaries of $150,000 or more, 15% reduction in salaries of $100 to $150, and 10% for salaries under $100,000. The Edmonton Oilers, beg your pardon? They don't have the money? I don't believe that. I just simply don't. I'm not reading this correct. The Montreal Canadiens, a 20% reduction for all staff. The Montreal Canadiens are one of the teams on this effing list. I want you all, listen, I shouldn't be endorsing this because it's a TSN product, but I want you all to go there, and I want you to hold those teams accountable when they sign players to millions of dollars in literally 2 or 3 weeks, because they're going to do it. That's gross. Yuck.
Well, and those employees, when the season does come back, those employees should be reimbursed.
Yeah.
If that's
like
the contract
it's
you signed with those employees,
Yeah.
if that is the contract, the stated deal between this is what we will pay you for your employment here, then the team ought to honor that.
Yeah, because in 2021 or whenever we're all back, ticket prices are going to be through the roof. Everyone's going to want to go out. Revenue is going to be at levels we've never seen before once everyone's comfortable going back to these stadiums. And the money should go back to the people who took the cuts during this time.
Good luck with that shit.
This is
Good luck
the
with
right
that shit.
thing, but yeah, who knows?
It's simply not going to happen. And it's one thing if you go to a coaching staff that's already relatively wealthy and you go, hey, can you defer, I don't know, 20% or whatever, because it'll help keep whoever in finance employed. You know, it's one thing if they approach the coaches with it and they approve of it and they do it for noble causes or whatever. Montreal Canadiens, 20% reduction for all staff? How dare you? The Montreal Canadiens. Aren't they one of the top, I don't know, half dozen teams in the league, even though they're playing with the Canadian dollar?
I would not know the answer to that, to be honest with you. I don't know what the revenue is.
That's fucking.
But I would think they're
so gross.
They're among the higher, for sure.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting. 15,000 or 50 million on goaltending. Gotta have that insurance. Gotta have that insurance factor there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then they would argue if we don't invest in that, then we will never get the gate back because the team won't be good. And I would say, well, you're in Montreal. you'll be fine. People will
with
come.
some of that money you can with some of that money you save, you go out and buy the world's tiniest violin. You're all owned by some of the richest people on the planet.
Yeah.
Pay your employees, you cheap pricks. All of them.
Yeah, most of these sports teams are just kind of toys for billionaires, you know?
It's so gross. Adam, who are the Winnipeg Jets owned by?
Partially the Thompson family.
And aren't they one of the most? Aren't they one of the richest families in the world?
They're top 3 richest in Canada and top 25, I think, in the world. Yeah.
Cool. Winnipeg Jets, a 20% reduction for all staff effective September 1st.
Well, and it's interesting because the Winnipeg Jets lose money every year. The Winnipeg Jets have never been a profitable franchise.
What's changed? What's changed?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because there's no revenue at all. So that might. So here's what I would say: if you're looking,
Well, they're not rich anymore.
No.
Good for them.
No, Steve. I'm 100%.
What?
I'm just trying to present what they would say.
Right.
So what the case is.
You could present what they would say to my toilet.
No,
The reason I'm doing it is
to present both sides.
to understand why this is
Story of the
happening
last
is important.
6 fucking months,
Yes.
Jesse.
Yeah,
Sorry,
but to understand why this is happening is important. I'm not saying it's a side you need to support, but I still think it's important that you understand why and what the rationale is. And the rationale is this. If you have a business that all of a sudden sees a dramatic reduction in value or revenue or both, there are codes in the law on both sides of the border that will allow you to reduce salaries to hopefully save the business. The idea being, the overarching idea of the business being, it's its own separate entity, no matter the owner. And governments don't want businesses to fail because they want people to remain employed so they can tax their income, right? And especially they want full-time employees who are on benefits. That's a major, major thing for, it's a major revenue source for governments. Because here's the thing, you're either supporting the government or you're living off it, right? That's how it's sort of looked at. So what they will try to do is find ways for businesses, regardless of the owner and how much money the owner has, separately the business, because they don't look at the owner, they look at the business. And they say, is this business making money? No, the Winnipeg Jets are not making money right now. The Winnipeg Jets are not making any money right now. I would doubt that any NHL team is making all that much money right now. And so you can argue, well, listen, the business is suffering. We have to temporarily reduce salaries for this reason, because there is no revenue, because it's a global pandemic and there's nothing we can do. And if you want us to keep these jobs going, we have to be able to reduce salaries so we can get through this tight spot. Now, you, from a social perspective, will look at that and go, yes, but look at how much money MTS and all the other, they all have. Agreed. But the way the law looks at it, from what I understand, is it's just the business on its own separately. And that's where, as a member of the public who's concerned about this, it's sort of like, that doesn't seem fair, but that's the way it's set up. And to be a billionaire, you have multiple businesses set up this way so that you are protected from your own business if it takes a turn for the worse. You're able to, you'll lose a little bit of money, but you're not going to lose your shirt. And so that's the idea of, we're getting into corporate economics and things like that, but that's sort of what's happening here. And that's why this can happen. That's why a guy like Jeremy Jacobs, who's worth several $1 billion, can say, well, we got to reduce salaries. And in fact, he doesn't have to say it. The guy he's paying to say it has just reduced his own salary by 20%. Because that's on the presidents and the CEOs of these companies to do that. That's their job.
Isn't that just perfect? Isn't that perfect? Delicious. Listen, we work in hockey, and I like to prioritize fun. But this free agency, I want you to keep those 17 teams in mind, and I want you to hold them accountable.
And if there's maybe more, because there could be.
There could be. It's the 17 that we know of. Steve, if it's the Leafs, you bet your ass I'm going to be on the richest team in hockey if they made any reductions and they have the balls to go out in free agency and spend. I'll call them out if they sign nobody. It's MLSE, for crying out loud. You joking?
You said we should hold these teams accountable. How do you
hold them
people
accountable?
Should do that?
Well, it's a great question, guys. What power do we have?
I think people will just be excited that they'll be like, hey, my team signed Petro. I don't think they'll be thinking about, hey, man, I wish they didn't sign him because that coach had to take a 20% pay cut. Screw my team. I don't know if anybody's gonna be thinking like that.
Go out and sign whoever you want. Go out and sign whoever you want. Sign whoever you want because you have the money. But because you have the money, fucking pay the people who you gave the cuts to. That's all I'm saying. Or at least
pay them back.
Pay them back.
Pay them back when this is over. That would be the right thing to do.
That would be very nice. We'll see how reality goes.
It would be. There was just a dark story. A friend of mine was like, I accepted a pay cut through COVID. And I was like, yeah, that sucks. I know a lot of people who are like that. And I did it because I thought it would help save my coworkers' jobs. And so far it has. And he's like, but if they end up losing their jobs, then I'm going to go ask for that money. And I'm like, yeah, good luck with that, dude.
Yeah.
I love you, man, but good luck with that. You're not getting the money. It's a company. They don't give a shit.
Well, they're amoral by their standing. That's the whole point. So moving on, guys, I don't know if you saw this. 17 general managers got a vote for general manager of the year, the Jim Gregory Award.
I forgot about that.
17. 17. Imagine there are 17 general managers that are good enough to win the Jim Gregory Award, but guess who isn't? Just guess. Because according to Steve Simmons, Toronto Sun, Kyle Dubas did not receive 1 vote.
Wow. And you know what's amazing is Mark Hunter got 2. He's not even an NHL GM. The guy got 2.
He's magic, that Mark Hunter.
I agree, Jesse. They should. Okay. Steve's thing, man. Steve's things with Kyle Dubas. When he tweeted that, I just tweeted, Steve, man.
You know what, man? The one thing about Steve Simmons is he is the most consistent. He's remarkably consistent.
He knows his brand. And like, I know he would just say, what? I'm simply stating the truth.
And he's right.
You are stating flavored truth.
Did anything prompt the tweet?
No. Just Lou Lamoriello winning it.
Do not tell me there is no difference between ruffles and all-dressed ruffles. There is a difference. And those were all-dressed ruffles that he tweeted with that. And he's telling me that it's plain. With Kyle Dubas received no votes. No, it's all-dressed, Steve, because you don't like him. You have a very public feud, which is why you tweeted that. Don't tell me that it's regular, which is better for hell of a good dip and all that. That was an all-dressed tweet, Steve. What? I was at the cottage. I had a lot of chips.
I'm wondering, because when they train us in media, one of the things that they always say is, you got to have 2 sides to something. We've never really done that on this show intentionally, which is, I think is a good thing for us because we just have our opinions and they can be different. But there's never unless Jesse's just trolling Steve, there's never
Never.
You would never. But it's sort of, we tell you what we think and then we wait for your comments. And sometimes your comments are as stupid as the things we say. Sometimes they're really smart. We get a little bit of both. And I feel like this is if this is intentional, do you know what I'm saying? If this is Skip Bayless intentional,
right?
It's a smart move for him.
This show. A lot of the time, we all agree on a point, and they would tell you, "Oh, never do that.
Never do that."
Someone's always got to take the other side, but it's ridiculous. So it's not honest, and we preach honesty on this show,
right? Yeah. Right, and we also can have a different perspective on the same thing and still agree. Right. That's the thing, right? A lot of shows just don't even bother with that. It's too much nuance and whatever, and that's fine, good for them. We just do whatever we do. We come here, we sit, we talk. We have no idea other than the topics that we're going to hit, where this is going to go, and that's just how the show has always been run. But with Steve Simmons, not Dangle, there is a strategy here, and there's a lot of people that really don't like Kyle Dubas, especially after this past season. And I don't blame them for saying it wasn't good enough. I do blame them for saying he's not qualified. I feel like he is. I think that just the team just wasn't very good, and they've got some work to do. And I didn't like his end of season press conference. But what Steve Simmons is doing is he is drumming up an audience and making himself sort of the Pied Piper leader of the resistance because the resistance took over. Kyle Dubas was the resistance. He was the new guy. And now somebody's got to lead the old school crowd that were sort of pushed to the side. Do you know what I'm saying? And this is what Steve's doing. And if you look at some of the tweets that are under him, there's a few people that are disagreeing, and there's a lot of people that agree. And it's a smart move for him because technically speaking, most people, from what I have seen, and I think we can agree on this, who are older do not like Kyle Dubas. If they do not like Kyle Dubas, chances are they're over the age of 40.
You know what,
Is that a fair comment?
It is. And I'm glad you brought this up. So, I got to talk to some people at a distance about hockey recently, and they say a lot of the same things that I see online.
Right.
Locking up the Big Four to all that money. They lost the Marner negotiation when they lost the Nylander negotiation, which you're not going to find too much pushback here.
No, you're right. You're right.
They don't have enough toughness, this, that, and the other. But they say it with so much less hatred, racism, and homophobia. You know what I mean? Like they just, they go, you know what? I don't know about that Nylander contract. And I prepare for a fight right away because I'm like, here it comes. And I'm like, oh, wait, I'm just having a conversation with a person.
Right.
Who's just like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he scored 30 goals. He did way better than I thought he would. But like, yeah, I don't know. Is that the direction they should be going in? And I don't know what to do with that. Because that is not the arena I am trained in. That is not, you're asking a Muay Thai fighter to get into a jiu-jitsu dojo, whatever it's called. I'm used to all the strikes and this is grappling. I don't know what the hell's going on. It was very weird to have a civil hockey conversation. And I think because of COVID, I forgot what those are like. Because I've just been having online conversations with the vast majority of people. I'm trying to think of how many people I've spoken to in person since March. And I don't know if the list is above 50.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
I don't know. I don't know if
it's
the
a lot of people.
It is 50.
That is a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's above that number of people.
Fair enough.
I don't. So, sorry, that got on to a completely different thing. I think it's because I read a lot of the replies, and I was just like, yep. I know that guy is anti-Nylander. Yep, and anti-Dubas. And yes, I know. Well, and I know that guy's pro-Dubas, no matter what. And Yep, of course he is. And it was just so refreshing to just have I don't know. I wouldn't have done the Marner deal, but like, he tries. He gets out there. He tries. Like, it was just nice to have like a non-threatening hockey conversation.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, look for Steve Simmons to continue to do that. And here's the thing. You don't need to parrot or bother with somebody that's clearly trying to get under your skin. There's a strategy at work here, and it's a good one. I give Steve Simmons credit. He's representing the other side. Need a little bit more of that.
Do you?
Yeah, sure. You got to have a dissenting view. You have to. And
I think the problem
because if you've got a guy that you believe in, his performance should back up the reason you believe in him. I believe in Kyle Dubas. I do. I think he's going to be I think he's got a lot to sort out with this team, but I think he's capable of doing it. But there's going to be a lot of people that don't believe he's even capable. And Steve represents that crowd.
There's a lack of diversity of opinion. I think when it comes to hockey, there's a bad mixture. Mm-hmm. And I think Simmons and people like Simmons all think the same way.
Right.
Near identical. But then I go to hockey Twitter, and at least the check marks or like the bigger names in hockey Twitter all think the same way. And you're both wrong. You're both incredibly wrong. You tell me 3 of the 4 teams remaining in the Stanley Cup playoffs suck. Okay. And yeah, sure. Okay. Might want to fix that model. And then there's Simmons crowd with their same 3 talking points to the point where I think they're doing a bit. Yeah. And someone is making up Pierre McGuire quotes.
Yeah.
Hockey Twitter seems to also not have the same funness, for lack of a better word, as some of the other sports. Like basketball Twitter last night was so much fun with everybody. Like, why? And it just seems like there are more like Dame Lillard was in on the jokes. Like that level.
CJ.
Hockey Twitter never really reaches that level. It seems to be so buttoned up and serious and angry, especially if you're not a fan of another fan's team. You know, it gets real personal. And then the media guys seem very buttoned up and all agreeing on.
There's a lot of seriousness. There's a lot of too much serious going on.
And I was saying, contrast that with NBA Twitter, where you got media people going at each other, but it's all for fun and just the amount of jokes that happen. I don't know. Hockey Twitter seems to have its own personality.
There was a moment, and I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but sometimes I'm laser focused on what the panel's talking about. And other times, I'm second screening it. I'm, looking at my phone, seeing what people are saying during intermission or whatever. And, what do you think about this topic? Well, I think this thing. Next box. What do you think about this topic? Well, I agree with that thing you just said. Third box. Well, I agree with that thing that you both just said. Fourth box, Cassie Campbell. Well, I disagree. I looked up from my phone. I went, what? And then she proceeded to make a really good dissenting point, backed with fact. It was riveting television. It was really good. And then I go on Twitter and everyone's shitting on her for not agreeing with the other three, which was wrong. You welcome that. I think you should welcome people who disagree, at least when it comes to sports, when the stakes are as low as sports.
Yeah,
because really none of this really matters. It's a
If there are
going
four squares,
No.
3 of them agree, you should applaud the one that doesn't, whether they're right or wrong, because they are saving television. Actively.
Completely agree.
I agree with her, by the way.
There's
I don't
also
remember what it was, but I did.
I hate it when there are panels and like a point will go unchallenged. Like who is the person in there? There's nothing I'd like to do more than sit next to Brian Burke and challenge him. I would love to do that. That
Elliot does from time to time.
And he's great at it. And it's funny. It's funny. Those are some of the magic moments when Elliot goes in and goes, I don't know, Berkey, and challenges that. But Elliot's so respectful about it. You need someone in there who doesn't give a shit, who's like, I have nothing to lose. I'm just going to challenge Brian Burke and see where this goes. It's going to be fun.
But that's the thing, though. Berkey doesn't give a shit.
No.
So I think you need to have him with someone else who doesn't give a shit, but in the same way.
Yeah, sometimes you want the first take dynamic where it's two guys, it's the Skip and Shannon going back and forth. Sometimes you want, when Brian Burke says something ridiculous, you want the other guy in there being like, okay, hold on, and then they go back and forth for a little, because that's entertaining TV.
Yeah,
there's too many people on hockey Twitter who don't realize how good Brian Burke is because they disagree with him all the time.
Right.
They need someone on the opposite end of that. He needs a really good sparring partner. Good, trust me, he's great.
It'll show his talents even more.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't realize how good he is. Trust me, he's amazing.
Guys, looks like the Coyotes have a new general manager. That's as of today.
Why was that so hard, Adam?
I don't.
Coyotes.
You guys,
I don't know.
Day.
I'm not really.
Goddamn Coyotes.
I don't know what the problem with me is. Damn.
You took that one in.
You're like, what are we talking about? Ownership, Adam? Because then I'll join you. But you said they got a new GM. That's kind of interesting.
His name's
They
Bill
signed the
Armstrong.
guy.
Bill Armstrong. Don't know a thing about him.
His name's Armstrong.
Yeah.
Is he related to George? Let's Google it. I don't know.
And also, according to Terry Koshin of the Toronto Sun, Kyle Clifford will be exploring the open market. His agent Todd Reynolds told Terry, that is. He is heading for free agency. The Leafs are aware of that. Toronto's financial situation has forced the issue. So as expected, Kyle Clifford will not be back. Also because if the Leafs had re-signed him, I believe they were giving up a second or a third round pick to do it.
Yes. So it's still listed as conditional on the cap-friendly website. The Leafs could, if Kyle Clifford goes to market, re-sign him. I doubt it. Their 2021 second is a conditional pick. The conditions are the 2021 third-round pick upgrades to a second if either Kyle Clifford re-signs with Toronto or if the Leafs make the 2019-20 playoffs and Jack Campbell wins 6 regular season games, which he didn't.
And they didn't.
And yeah, technically they didn't.
They didn't make the playoffs.
They did, but they didn't. It depends.
So they're going to keep that pick, basically.
They'll keep their second, surrender the third.
Right.
Which is better.
Which, you know what? Honestly, like as much as I liked Kyle Clifford, I think I don't think for what it's going to cost to have a guy like that on the roster that this makes a lot of sense.
No, and he's still not enough of what they need. They need meat and toughness, which he provided. They need an asshole. They need someone who provides those things, but is also a legitimate threat, which he simply wasn't. You know who's a player, and he doesn't provide 2 of the things that I just mentioned, but this guy is a honey badger. He is relentless. He is on you. He's your annoying little brother. He's your annoying little cousin who he's grabbing onto your pant leg and you just can't get rid of him. Dragging him around the house at a family gathering. You all know the one. Yanni Gourde. Damn it, that guy would be such a good fit on the Leafs. He's a stick attack veteran or menace. He's attacking you on every play. They need a guy who plays like Yanni Gourde, but he's bigger. basically, and a couple sociopaths, which we've already talked about. Kyle Clifford's just he's not that. He makes teams think he can lay a big hit on the fourth line, and for the amount of money he was going to command, he just does not make the impact that the Leafs need for that amount of money in that role. He doesn't.
Right. And we're still seeing articles come up about Alex Pietrangelo and potentially with the Leafs. And every day, some new website says, hey, here's how we could make it work. I don't think it's going to happen. I really, really don't. And you can quote me. And if I'm wrong, great. I'd love to be wrong. But I don't think it's going to happen. The other thing is, apparently for Matt Dumba, the Leafs would have to give up Kerfoot plus or Nylander plus. So
Not the same.
Not the same. But the Wild are looking for a centerman. And you have to think...
would be a good fit in Minnesota.
He would, but what's the plus, right?
The Minnesota Wild are spending a wild amount of money on 4 guys. And by the way, that's not for this upcoming season. That's for 2021-22. Right. Which is really interesting. To me, they're financially behaving like Matt Dumba's already out the door.
Well, and I like Matt Dumba and what he brings, but isn't he exactly not the defenseman they need?
He's a different version of Tyson Barrie. Where you need right-handed defensive talent. You need stops. You need someone to be a dick and hurt guys in front of the net, hurt guys in the corner, and just keep the puck away from your net. And all the numbers suggest Matt Dumba, wicked on the power play, guy can score goals. He's brilliant offensively. He's not the greatest in his own end. And does that not describe Tyson Barrie?
Yeah.
Also, is the $6 million for 3 years worth it? I don't know.
No.
Not for what he brings, right?
He'd be their highest paid defenseman.
Yeah, I don't mind $6 million. It's just got to be on the right guy.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the smart way to allocate the money. If I'm Dubas, it's like, okay, I'm going to push $6 million, and that's gone to Dumba for 3 years. Spend it more wisely.
Here's what I think the Leafs need to find. And this is actually why I wouldn't mind them going out and getting a pretty decent left-handed D. Mm-hmm. Who is the power play quarterback in this team? Who is it?
Morgan Riley.
I think.
No. Who's the defensive?
Morgan Riley.
It should be Morgan Riley. And they just tried to force Tyson Barrie into that role because we got to get him involved somehow, and we got to get Morgan Riley some rest somehow. So let's shove Tyson Barrie into that role.
But that is what he did in Colorado. That was
yes, it is. But Morgan Riley got 72 points the previous year, and they took him off the top unit.
That was stupid. I don't know why they did that.
So whatever the Leafs do in terms of fixing their defense, they need to make a concrete decision heading in who their top power play guy is. I think it should be Morgan Riley. And your second option should be Rasmus Sandin. Because he excelled at that role, I thought. And your concern on the right side should be stopping the puck. Stopping it. Don't let it get in your zone, and once it's there, make them wish they hadn't come. Which Matt Dumba, unfortunately, doesn't provide. I'd like him, but it doesn't make sense for the Leafs.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So let's get to the press conference.
Oh, we got a ton.
Great.
Of good questions.
Ready.
So
I
play
doubt
this.
The Presser. SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
First question comes from Alex Bruce.
Pietrangelo Bruce.
Alex wants to know, can we bring back Adam's History Corner? I want to hear him talk about any of the Scottish rebellions.
Oh.
Ooh.
We can. I'd have to brush up on that, to be honest with you. I know some things about the Scottish rebellions themselves, specifically about the one that the William Wallace and the Robert the Bruce and that sort of thing. But I'd actually have to brush up to tell that story better. So I think we can delay History Corner a little bit. Sure.
All right,
I'll tell a more succinct story because I'll be honest with you. The reason I don't want to talk about it right now, and normally I'm supposed to do this off the top of my head. However, I know that the Scottish listeners among us, if I got a detail wrong, it would just be the end of my career. And because they're very, very proud of their rebellions, as they should be. It's David and Goliath. And I just want to make sure I get some of the details right. Like, I don't know some of the battle names. I know some of the strategies that were invoked and that sort of thing, but there's a lot there. And let's be honest, medieval things are very spotty, right? The history of it is not great. So
let me tell you,
Sunday, we can talk Sunday.
If you're wrong in front of Scots, you're wrong forever.
Forever.
I cut a ham funny at my first Thanksgiving with my then future in-laws. And to this day, I'm not allowed to cut food. Like, hey, can you pat? No, not Steve. He's not allowed to touch it. That was in 2007. I'm not allowed to touch food. I can't prepare it for anybody. I will say this about the Scottish Rebellion. You know those decorative knives?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what they were called, so I asked my then future father-in-law. I go, "What's that called?" He goes, "It's a skeen do." I go, "What's it for?" He goes, "Kill an Englishman." And I told her I told him I'd have her back by 8. And 7:45.
That's great.
Our next question comes from Avi at TML4Life93.
Mm-hmm.
Are you concerned that the NHL will move towards the Islanders and Stars defense-first style of hockey, kind of like the dead puck era, just not as bad?
I'm not concerned. I know they will. It's the way the game always sort of goes. It goes in waves. So you have eras where it opens back up and then it closes back down because there's been an innovation. And then they change the rules to combat the innovation. And then somebody else figures out a new way to do it. But here's the problem with the Stars and the Isles and the way they play is it's very, very difficult to get players to buy into a system like that. It really is. And you have to have a specific type of coach and a specific group that will do that. And in this particular case, like you look at, what happened with Barry Trotz with Washington and that sort of thing, like that, it kind of, not that he wasn't successful, he won a cup, but he was on his way out before he won that cup. And there will be a lot of bad copies. So like if you look at the 2011 Stanley Cup Finals, everybody wanted to be the Boston Bruins after that, even though
it ruined franchises for years to come.
Even though, and Vancouver among them.
Yep.
Vancouver lost one game and tried to become their enemy. One game. Instead of just being the Vancouver Canucks, who had won the President's Trophy.
And the first 2 games of that series.
Yep. Multiple awards. And 2 of the best scorers around at the time, the Sedins. It's crazy to me that happens, but it does. And you're going to see a lot of teams do that. And usually teams with, on paper, lower talent levels default to that because it's a system. It's evening, again, the David and Goliath effect. It's the only defense that you have. And it works for certain teams, and it doesn't work for others. Teams that try to do this and they don't get buy-in, it's a disaster. So there will be a lot of copycats, 100%. I just don't think it'll be dead puck era bad because the way the game is called is a lot different as well. But one thing I think the NHL has to be cognizant of, there's a couple rules that are going to have to change in the future. One of them is puck over glass. And I saw Tim and Sid ranting about this too. If it's an intentional puck over glass, I can see it being a penalty. If it's unintentional, it should absolutely not be a penalty. And refs have to judge intention all the time. Why not on the puck over glass as well? And the other thing is offsides. You want to talk about a dead puck. For 45 seconds, the puck can be in the offensive zone. The team will score, and then the team will challenge and go, but actually it was offside, so we really didn't even need to be playing defense throughout the whole thing because it was offside the whole time anyway.
There's got to be a limit on that.
That has to, yeah. That's, to me, those are the more pressing things that I'd be worried about slowing down the game. That's just my opinion. Steve, please.
You mentioned the 2011 Boston Bruins. And it's funny, I was talking about the 2011 Boston Bruins, one of the most fascinating teams over the last quarter century. They always come up. I was talking about that with Andrew Berkshire. Oh, you know why? It's because he heard us on the podcast. He heard us talking about Tim Thomas.
Oh.
And he goes, by the way, do you know that Tim Thomas got like sued or whatever? I go, what? So, funny little callback to earlier in the show from NHL_watcher, quoting Pierre McGuire, allegedly. McGuire adds Gregory Campbell's line in 2011 had a huge impact on the Bruins' 2011 Cup victory. Asks, how's Edmonton, Buffalo, and Florida doing? Adds, no team that has gone completely in with analytics has won the Cup. Now we're going to ignore how ridiculous that statement was, and we're going to look at this little thread from one Justin Morissette, who is a producer with Sportsnet 650. I don't know him personally, and for all I know, it could be part of the conspiracy theory that this is all made up. On September 9th, they tweeted, the only impact Gregory Campbell had on the Bruins in 2011 was that his dad made sure none of his teammates got suspended for being dirty as hell. Oh, this Vancouver guy, okay. If you decided to cheer for the Boston Bruins in 2011 because the Canucks weren't likable, despite the fact that the Bruins literally broke a guy's back in the final and Chara was 2 months removed from trying to kill Max Pacioretty, and you don't regret this, you're an enormous dumbass. Oh, there's a Vancouver guy getting very upset. Now I'm about to pique your interest. WTF, illegal. As far as I'm concerned, the Canucks did win the Cup in 2011, and the Bruins are the Houston Astros of hockey. This is insane. So, this guy got a message from someone saying, another fun fact, I may have told you this before, is the NHL took Kay Whitmore off the job for the 2011 final because he was considered biased since he once played for the Canucks. Tim Thomas took full advantage and altered his pads with a strapping system that would close his 5-hole when he went down. His gear was never checked. Whoa. For those who are telling me this is a crackpot theory and not what actually happened, Thomas was sued by Vaughn the following year for wearing bizarre pads made by a company called Piku that were reskinned as Vaughn pads to look legitimate. He's a known cheater and got away with it. And then it's a long quote about it.
Whoa.
So I'll send you this thread for you guys to read.
Is that enough to win a Stanley Cup?
He won the Conn Smythe Trophy. You bet
your pads,
balls it's enough to win the Stanley Cup.
Your pads
he got a
going to
shutout in Game
5-hole.
7.
Your pads go to 5-hole a little easier. Like,
so what? Anything. All I know is it is deliciously Vancouver. I'm sent it to you. We'll post a link in the whatever if you want to read the thread. But man, not a lot gets by me when it comes to hockey and crackpot conspiracy theories, and I had not heard that one. The Conn Smythe winner in 2011 allegedly cheated? I had not heard that one. That's a big one. Just throwing it out there. Maybe that's the new that's how teams adapt. It's not they play more like the Islanders or they play more like the Stars. It's that they cheat. They close their 5-hole.
Next question, Jesse.
One thing I'd like to say on that question is that defense does allow lesser teams to play above their ability.
Sure.
So it could definitely be a strategy we see taken up across the league. Here's the next question from Zach Thompson. Zach says, Steve, how's your back holding up?
Mm-hmm. It's feeling better, a little bit better. It's not totally better, which is why I'm going to get x-rays and potentially a CAT scan. And I made an appointment with an osteopath and also with a sports therapist. So can you all fuck off?
Finally.
All of you leave me alone.
Yes. Thank you for harassing him into doing the right thing.
I would have done it anyway.
Bet you.
Really?
Bet you would have.
Yeah.
Don't think so, but.
Next question is a very important one. It comes from Ian. Ian, who has Go Riders Go in his bio.
I wonder where he's from.
He's from Saskatchewan. Ian says, given we're coming to the end of summer, how many times has Adam gone out on his paddleboard?
0 fucking times, Ian.
Wow, Adam.
All summer.
Wow.
That's a victory for Jesse and Steve.
Yeah,
now,
it is,
Ian
right.
also asked, how many times has Steve gone kayaking?
Oh, none.
You guys are useless.
Yeah, we are.
I just breathed fresh air for the first time in like 3 months. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think Steve gets a pass on this one. Newborn babies are no joke, man.
Where's your paddleboard at?
My paddleboard?
How come it never made it to Lake Ontario?
Man, it gets busy. I'm just busy.
Man, so I got up early yesterday morning to let Iggy outside to go pee, and there was this beautiful bright red sunrise, and I was like, oh, that's so amazing. I'm going to take a picture of that. So I got this epic picture of Iggy with this beautiful bright red sunrise, and I find out today the reason that it was bright red supposedly is because of the wildfires on the West Coast. The air has traveled so far that it's making our sunrises and sunsets red. Nothing on that.
I am looking outside my window right now, and there's no blue sky because of the fires, right? Like
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And people are saying it smells like smoke and stuff. I can't smell that, but that's part of the reason. It affects the climate, man. It's crazy.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Jesse,
I thought that was more interesting.
Last question.
Ooh. This last question. Hayden Edwards wants to know, what Canadian team looks the best going into the offseason? And what do you guys think? What teams do you guys think are sweating the most coming into the expansion draft?
Okay, so Canadian team that looks best going into the offseason, I'm going to say the Vancouver Canucks because they made it the furthest. The team that has got, for me, that I would say is going to sweat the most.
It would have to be a team with a bunch of young guys, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't protect them all. And
I'd say maybe, well, young guys, but the first 3 years of their deal, they're going to be fine. So if you look at a team like Montreal that's got a loaded system,
right,
they're going to be okay. Toronto should probably be okay. It's kind of top heavy.
Sorry, I'm kind of thinking out loud.
No, please.
A team like Tampa is interesting because they have so many good stars that you're just going to run down the list to eventually find one that will fit in Seattle.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Leafs are quaking a little bit when it comes to the expansion draft. Montreal's in an unbelievable position. They have cap space. I know they have money, even though they say they don't.
Yep.
They have draft picks.
Yep.
And very few players signed beyond this upcoming season.
Right.
So, they're golden. They're completely golden. I think the Canucks actually should be shitting themselves because I don't care how far they went. Their starting goalie's probably going to leave. Thatcher Demko is going to be their new starter because he played 3 very good games.
Mm-hmm.
They're contractually a mess. I don't know if I'd be that cozy and comfortable if I was the Vancouver Canucks. And unlike the Edmonton Oilers, I think the Edmonton Oilers will be able to finagle it with their young guys. All the Canucks young guys will be, I think, just exiting exemption territory.
That's true. It's a good point.
It's going to be tough.
I wonder if the expansion draft is going to be tough for Vegas.
God, I hope so.
Ironic.
Wouldn't that be funny? I don't know if it would be, but it would be kind of funny.
Yeah.
And, I wonder if this is going to be a factor. So I was looking at the no movement clauses on the Canucks because we know that could be – Adam, you're going to love this. This could be a factor. Tyler Myers has a modified no trade. Jay Beagle, Antoine Roussel.
Why did you give Jay Beagle a no move?
Gets better. Michael Furland. Brandon Sutter.
Oh, my
God.
God.
And Louis Eriksson.
What a bad list.
Those are all guys signed for at least 2 years with modified no
And they're going to have to protect all of them?
You don't have a choice.
Not necessarily.
Oh, really?
Not necessarily because, Bieksa, I think, enforced his in Anaheim. But other guys were like, you can trade me, whatever. And also, there might be a difference between no trades and no movement.
Yes.
Of the guys I just mentioned, Edler's in no movement, but he expires after this year. And Ferland is a no movement.
Okay.
The rest are just modified no trades.
Okay.
Who's your team you're going with, Adam, for the expansion draft?
The team that's sweating the most?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. It's tough. What's weird is about this year is that everything's weird about this year, but the pandemic has kind of thrown everything apart. If you were to ask me this question in a month, probably have a better picture because everything's about to change, right? Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like what we're going to see now, what the teams look like right now is going to be vastly different in 4 weeks. So I'm going to make this prediction, and then someone's going to tweet it back at me like an asshole in a month and say, "See, you were wrong." And it's like, well, yeah, like how could you possibly make that prediction now? I will say, I don't know. The Calgary Flames are in trouble because they've got a bunch of talent and not all of it's on expiring deals, and I don't know how the Calgary Flames younger system is. So I'll say the Calgary Flames because I really don't know. I don't have a great answer for you.
The correct answer, despite everything we said, is the Ottawa Senators because they suck and they don't have money to not suck in the future.
That's true too.
They suck now, and the way it's currently going, they will suck for a while.
Yep. Steve, who's your off-season Canadian team you think is in the best position?
I'm going to keep saying Montreal.
Yeah.
They just have so much flexibility. I just wish they would pay their employees. I said what I said.
Agreed.
I'll say it in French too. I'll look it up.
Je suis pay them.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I am pay them. Fromage, pantalon, mercredi.
What?
What?
What
I
is
said
that?
cheese pants Wednesday because I don't know French. Où est la piscine? And bibliothèque. Oh, bibliothèque, sorry.
All right. Well, I think that's it for us today. Our travailler is done.
Wow!
What is that? What is
work?
Oh, okay.
Hey.
I speak zero French.
Anyway, let's wrap it up. I thought Steve was going to say something there. He didn't. So
I thought better of it.
We will be back Sunday. We love you. Thank you so much for listening. And that's it. Stanley Cups coming.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.